Good morning, students. Today we are going to learn about rest and motion. Previous class we finished about scalar and vector quantities and we understood the concept and learned to differentiate between distance and displacement in a very elaborate manner. So today we are going to learn about rest and motion, which you are already aware, but still we will go into a deeper sense. Okay, so let us understand what is the meaning of rest. When can you say the body is said to be at rest, and when can you say the body is said to be said to be in motion? Okay, now you say the body is at rest when it is not changing its position or there is no change in its position. But when you define motion, you say that the body changes its position with respect to its surroundings. Okay. So let us see with an example. So whether rest or motion depends upon the change in position of the body. So let us see with a simple example. Suppose you are watching a stone. You have kept a stone on the floor and you are just looking into the stone. What will you say? You will any common man or anybody can understand that the stone is at rest. But already you know the whole universe is under motion. Even earth is also rotating. But still, when you keep the stone on the surface of the earth, you say the stone is at rest. How? Now you understand because you are watching the stone. So the stone is not changing its position with respect to you, or it is not changing its position with respect to the surroundings. So this is the concept of rest and motion. Okay. Now we will go, as I told you, we will learn a better idea. We'll get some better idea about motion. So it can be broadly classified as, the motion can be broadly classified, it can be or broadly classified as one-dimensional motion, two-dimensional motion and three-dimensional motion. Okay. Now, what is the very word of one dimension? So, one-dimensional motion refers to a line. Two-dimensional motion refers to a plane. Three-dimensional motion refers to space. Now, let us understand. See, in one-dimensional motion is based on, you know there are three coordinates, x, y and z. So, one-dimensional motion is based on one of the three coordinates, and two-dimensional motion is based on two out of three coordinates, that is both x and y axis. When you talk about one-dimensional motion, it is based on either x axis or y axis. But two-dimensional motion is depending, or it will be based on two coordinates, that is x and y axis, whereas the three-dimensional motion will be based on all the three coordinates x, y and z. Okay. So let us see some examples. Very interesting examples we are going to discuss. So the one-dimensional motion is a body moving on a straight path. A body which is moving on a straight path. Okay. Or a rectilinear motion is an example for one-dimensional motion. So suppose I am going to give two examples. That is, a stone is thrown from a height, or a body or an object is thrown from a height. So it will have, you are seeing only y-axis here. Is it not? One of the coordinate. Just now I explained. So that is one example. Again, I've drawn a simple diagram of a car which is moving on the road. So it has taken x-axis. As I told you, one-dimensional motion will involve either any one of the coordinate, either x-axis or y-axis. For this, I gave these two examples. Now let us come to what is it? Two-dimensional motion. See here, I've taken a body moving in a plane. I told you two-dimensional motion will involve two coordinates, that is x and y, and I am giving an example here. The body moves on a plane along a curved path. When a body is moving on a curved path, what it will have? It will have both x-axis and y-axis. I have drawn a simple diagram here. The next page I am going to give a very clear example for you. Just I am giving a vague example now. That means a boy is standing, he is throwing a stone or throwing a ball from a height in a curvilinear motion. You have learnt in 7th standard, is it not? So he is just throwing a ball at an angle. So it just goes like a curved path and then falls down. So it will involve both x-axis and y-axis. Just see this diagram. Later I will give a better explanation. Now one more example I am going to give. A roller coaster which is moving in a different in a curved path. So it will involve both x-axis and y-axis. Therefore, it is a two-dimensional motion. And a gymnast who is standing on a balance beam, or you would have seen in a circus, the clown will be just reaching at a height and he just falls or jumps into in that jumps to the ground without any support, is it not? So that is an example for two-dimensional motion. Now let us have the last point here, have a comparison. The one-dimensional motion, one second children, yes, the one-dimensional motion, in one-dimensional motion, this is a very important point. There is no movement of body in lateral direction or no sideways motion. So then you can say that it is absolutely a one-dimensional motion because it cannot take a lateral direction or a sideways motion. Therefore, that will be one-dimensional motion. Now, as I told you, I am going to give a better example for two-dimensional motion. See here a simple diagram. Maybe you would have identified, it's not maybe I'm not a very good artist, children. Whatever has come to my imagination I have done. You would have seen cannons in military forces. They will be using a cannon which will be launching a projectile, is it not? So imagine cannon which is launching a projectile. So look at how x-axis and y-axis are involved here. So the cannon is projecting or launching a projectile. The cannon is launching a projectile. It goes to a height and then it falls down. Imagine 3 times it is shot. So I have taken 3 positions. In all the 3 positions, it goes to a height and then it falls down. So when it is falling down, it is involving x-axis. When it is going up, it is involving y-axis. Okay. So this is a very clear example. The launching a projectile from a cannon is a very good, or it is also called as projectile motion. I mentioned that word also. The projectile motion is a very good example for two-dimensional motion. Now let me give one more example. See here, simple example. As I told you, the clown. Imagine that clown is standing here and he is jumping. Okay, so forget about that. If you don't want a clown, I have made my imagination that this is a building. On the top of the building, I kept an object, a stone or a ball or whatever it is. I'm just dropping the stone from a height. Or I am just taking an angle and just throwing up. So what is happening exactly? It is taking a curved path and it is falling down. So when it is falling down, it is falling on x-axis. On the plane, it will fall. And when it is at a height, it is considered to be at a y-axis, or it is involving y-axis also. So 2 coordinates are involved. Therefore, these 2 are very good example for two-dimensional motion. Now let us understand about three-dimensional motion. We understood one-dimensional motion, two-dimensional motion. Now let us understand about three-dimensional motion. So after learning this, what are we going to consider in this chapter? We are not going to consider two-dimensional motion or three-dimensional motion. We are only dealing with one-dimensional motion. All the numericals will be based on one-dimensional motion. That is why the name of the chapter is motion in one dimension. Just a car moving with a velocity, a bike moving with a velocity, a stone is thrown from a height or dropped from a height. All the problems will be based on one dimension only. Okay, so let us have a discussion with three-dimensional motion. What is that? I told you the three-dimensional motion will involve all the 3 coordinates x, y and z. Okay, now it will not in a single plane. It will be moving in space. As I told you, all the 3 coordinates means it is considered to be moving in space. It will not move in a single plane. So the very good example, I have taken 2 examples from my side. That is the flight of an aeroplane. If you can see the flight of an aeroplane, it can move freely. That's what I told the three-dimensional motion. The example I told, it is moving on a space. So flight of an aeroplane is an example. And one more example, simple example which I have considered is the microscopic motion of particles. You know how the particles are moving in a matter, or how molecules are moving in a matter in a random motion. You have already learnt. So when it is moving in random motion, it is not considered to only x-axis or y-axis. It moves in all the directions. That is why it is considered to be the molecules which are moving in random motion. So microscopic motion of particles that make up matter. So for three-dimensional motion, you have 2 examples. For two-dimensional motion, you have several examples. But the best one is the launching of projectile from a cannon is the best example. And the boy who is throwing the stone at a particular angle is also best example. All the roller coaster is the apt example for to explain two-dimensional motion. One-dimensional motion, anything you can give. A man walking. It's just, you can say, a man walking on the road. Okay. So I hope you would have understood about all the three dimensions of motion: one dimensional, two-dimensional motion, and three-dimensional motion. Okay. Now let us go to the next concept. Already you know, we have learned these two, you are aware, is it not? Speed and velocity. Already I have learned in lower classes also, thank God, so that you will not have a it's not a new topic for you. It's a known topic, familiar topic, so it's going to be easy for you. So already you know that speed is a scalar quantity and velocity is a vector quantity. In the first class, I gave a display of so many quantities in a random manner, and I circled certain quantities and put a tick mark for certain quantities. Do you remember? So the circle ones I called it as scalar quantities, and the tick ones I named it as vector quantities. Out of that, we are going to select. Already we finished distance and displacement. Now this class we are going to see about speed and velocity, which is very important. Again, speed is scalar quantity, velocity is vector quantity. We are going to see in detail. Now, why did you understand speed is a scalar quantity? How do you understand? Instead of asking why, you have to put a question how. Okay, let us come back. What do you know about speed? Speed formula, you know it is a scalar quantity. The speed formula is equal to distance traveled by time taken. So now slightly we will change in 9th standard level. The representations are little different. Please check it up, children. So small v I have taken instead of s, small v is equal to capital S by t, where capital S is nothing but the distance covered by the body. Small v is refers to will refer to speed. Even for velocity, we will put v only with an arrow mark. That's it. Okay. So let us consider here. So what is a formula? You know, speed is equal to distance by time taken. So what will be the SI unit for distance? SI unit is meter and time is second. So SI unit of speed is meter per second. Now what will be the CGS unit? Centimeter per second. Okay. Now how will you define speed? Speed is defined as the distance covered by a body in unit time. Easy. Distance covered by a body in unit time. So here, now there is no direction involved in speed. Same. And you see one thing, look at this word distance. When you say distance is a scalar quantity, the one which is related with that is speed. So distance and speed both are scalar quantities. Now let us understand about vector quantity. So vector quantity also will have the same formula, which is, but slightly you will call, instead of distance, you will call it as displacement. Whenever you see the arrow mark, you should understand that is displacement. So velocity is equal to displacement by time taken. SI unit is same, meter per second. CGS unit is centimeter per second. Now how will you define velocity? It is nothing but rate of change of displacement. Already you know, children, I have several times I have explained, whenever the formula has time taken, you can use the word rate. So rate of change of displacement, how much ever according to the time the body is displacing at a particular direction, then you call it as velocity or rate of change of displacement. We are going to learn in detail about velocity in the next video. Today we are going to learn little bit more about speed. With that we will finish. Okay. Now we are going to see when the body is said to be moving with uniform speed and when it is said to be moving with non-uniform speed. Okay. This also you are aware, but I want to explain in a very clear. Clarity should be more. Okay. So let us understand uniform speed. I have drawn a small ball. Imagine the ball is moving on a frictionless surface. Let us consider a smooth glass plate. You have kept a glass plate and you are allowing the ball to roll on the glass plate. So what it will go? It is a frictionless, I written frictionless floor here, but I change the example as a glass plate. Okay. So the ball will be at 1 second, it covers 1 meter, the next second 1 meter, next second 1 meter, again the last 1 second also it is covering 1 meter. So the total for 1 second it is taking 1 meter distance, or the total, if the total distance is 4 meter, then the total time taken is 4 seconds. So the ball is taking exactly, it is covering equal distances in equal intervals of time. So whenever a body is covering equal distance in equal intervals of time, then it is said to be moving with uniform speed. I hope you have understood. Now let us come to non-uniform speed. Same example only, children. I don't want to confuse with too many examples. Later in the doubt clearing class, what we will do is you can share as many examples as possible. But now when I am explaining the video, I will take only one example. Okay. Now see here, children. Again an example I am giving. Let us consider a rough surface and you are allowing the ball to roll from one end to the other end. Now what it is doing, at 1 second it has taken 2 meter. Next second it has taken it has covered 2 meter. Next second, 0.5 meter. The third second, it has gone 1 meter. So what you are seeing, there is something unequal. So what is that? They are unequal distances. So when a body covers unequal distances in equal intervals of time, look at this point. See, time can never change, children. 1 second, 2 seconds, like that only we'll calculate, is it not? The earth is rotating exactly 24 hours, and then in a day it rotates like that. The rotation is uniform. Therefore, when you're writing, even if it is a non-uniform speed, you have to say only the distance will be unequal, but the time will be the same. So when it is covering unequal distances in equal intervals of time, you can say it is moving with non-uniform speed. Example, motion of a car in a crowded street. Is it correct or not? When a car is moving on a crowded street, automatically its motion becomes non-uniform. Let us consider one more. We are coming to the last point. So when a body is moving with non-uniform speed, so you imagine when a body is moving with the non-uniform speed, what can we specify? We can specify two things. One is the instantaneous speed and the average speed. Let us understand this easily with a simple example. Let us understand what is the meaning of instantaneous speed. Finding the speed at that particular instant. Let me give a simple example. Or the speed of the body keeps on changing. Imagine you are going in an auto. You are traveling in an auto from your house to the school. Imagine you are going in an auto. So what happens? Will the speed be uniform all the time? No. See, if the auto will, I have taken an example. A, B, C, 3 points are there. From position A to position B, the distance covered is 2 kilometers, but the time taken is 5 minutes. After that, the auto has stopped. Then from B to C, stopped in the sense maybe for signal or something. Again from B to C, it is covering 1 kilometer only. First it covered 2 kilometers, but now it is covering 1 kilometer, but it is taking 10 minutes. So it happens sometimes. Okay. Now what I can do, I can find the instantaneous speed from A to B, then from B to C. Both also I can calculate. Okay. So when you calculate, I will get this value. V is equal to S by T. So 2 kilometer by 5 minutes. Convert into meter per second. Always have to convert into SI unit. So 2000 by 300 seconds is equal to 6.66 meter per second. So, but from B to C, look at the value. It will be 1 kilometer by 10 minutes or 1000 meter by 10 into 60 seconds. Okay, I have to convert into second. So the value will be 1.66 meter per second. So this, what is this is telling? So what is the instantaneous speed from A to B is calculated as 6.66 meter per second. The instantaneous speed from B to C is calculated as 1.66 meter per second. So this is the concept of instantaneous speed, or it is shortly given as the distance travel by travel in a short time interval by the time taken. Example, the speedometer of a vehicle. See, in auto there is a speedometer. In all the vehicles there is a speedometer. So if you see the speedometer of the vehicle always measures the instantaneous speed. Okay. So I hope you would have understood about this. The last topic now today. We are coming to average speed. Children, let us understand what is the meaning of average speed. The ratio of the total distance traveled by a body to the total time journey is called its average speed. Already I have learnt in 7th standard. You know how to calculate the average speed also. Average speed is equal to total distance traveled by total time taken. I am going to give a very interesting example, children. Very interesting example. So let us consider there are two stations. Station A, railway station. I am talking about the train, the movement of a train now. Okay, motion of a train. So station A, station B. So the train is traveling from station A to station B, and then coming back from station B to station A. Now, if I ask you, students, what is the displacement? Then you will say 0, ma'am, because it's going from A to B, returning back from B to A. But the distance will not be 0, is it not? Now, we are going to find the average speed. So, from A to B, the distance is 100 km only, but the time taken is 2 hours. A to B, it is taking 3, here I have written, A to B, the time taken is 3 hours, but while returning B to A, it has taken only 2 hours. But the distance will be 100 kilometer only. See, distance from A to B is 100 kilometer, distance from B to A is 100 kilometer. Now, shall we find average speed? Very easy, no? So, what is the formula? Average speed is equal to total distance traveled by total time taken. See here, children, some students tend to make a mistake. Instead of adding 100 plus 100, Why I have added 100 plus 100? The distance will never change. But still you have to add up the distance. First A to B it has taken, the distance covered is 100 kilometer. Same way from B to A, when it is covering, again it will cover 100 kilometer. So 100 plus 100 by total time taken is 2 plus 3, 5. So 200 by 5 will be 40 kilometer per hour. So this 40 kilometer per hour is nothing but the average speed. So I hope you have understood about instantaneous speed and average speed. You are going to do many number of problems in average speed. Don't worry. Even few problems in instantaneous speed also. That time you will understand better. But I hope you have understood the concept. Okay. So let us see what the last point of this video today. For a body moving with uniform speed, see, you can calculate instantaneous speed or average speed only when a body is moving with non-uniform speed, only when it is covering a unequal distances in equal intervals of time, then only you call it as, what is that, you can calculate instantaneous or average speed. But when a body is moving with uniform speed, what will be the case? This is a very standard 1 mark question. If a body is moving with uniform speed, what about the instant speed and average speed? Will it vanish? It will never vanish. What we can consider it as instantaneous speed will be equal to the average speed, or it is same as that of uniform speed. So this condition is very, very important. This is a standard 1 mark question. So you can calculate instant speed or average speed only when the body is moving with non-uniform speed. If it is moving with uniform speed, then instantaneous speed is equal to the average speed. Okay, children. So with this, I am stopping today. This video I have covered. What I have covered is the concept of rest and motion. Then the types of, the dimensions of motion. 1-dimensional, 2-dimensional and 3-dimensional motion. And entirely about the concept of speed and velocity. A slight introduction I have given. Next video will be detailing about the same way uniform velocity, non-uniform velocity, okay, instantaneous velocity, and of course average velocity also. Don't worry. So have a nice day, children. Thank you so much.